We were in Romans chapter 6. It's talking about living in life without sinning. And I was just talking about in verse 11, one note that we definitely want to keep in mind. Romans chapter 6, verse 11, in the same way, count yourselves dead to sin. But let's try that again. In the same way, count yourselves dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. Therefore, verse 12, do not let sin reign in your mortal body that you obey its evil desires. That's a direct command that God has given us. Do not let sin. So it's obvious he's asking us to do something. Faith without works is dead. That's the work part that comes into where we actually not allow sin to reign in our mortal bodies, which is what Romans is all about, talking about Jesus' life and death and his resurrection and how he did not allow sin to reign in his mortal body. And he walked by the Spirit of his Father, which kept him in the victory. So the only reason that we are not able to do that today is because we have determined, selfishly determined, that we have something that we desire greater than surrendering our all to him. Not that we can't do it. We just chosen not to do it. And we have to get that out of our mind and realize and stop allowing ourselves to be so stubborn to where we are so unwilling to accept our deliverance that Jesus has already given us. Victory over sin right now in the present physical body in which we live. Jesus gave that to us. All we have to do is, by faith, accept what he has given us. Take that gift that he's given us, open it up, and use what was in the gift. That's the power over sin. We can do that through choice. Choice. Key word to success in life. Choosing. What will you choose today? Let me read on. In verse 13, do not offer the parts of your body. He's getting ready to get very specific here now. The parts of your body to sin. So he's telling you now what to do. Don't do it. But rather offer yourselves to God as those who have been brought from death to life. Act like you have been brought from death to life. Walk like it. Talk like it. Surrender yourself like it. And offer the parts of your body to him, God, as instruments of righteousness. For sin shall not be your master, because you are not under law, but under grace. You see, sin is what keeps us under law. Doesn't say law meaning you no longer have to worry about the law. The law does not exist. You're not under what? The condemnation or the curse of the law, which is what is explaining here, because you no longer have sin. You no longer offer the parts of your body to sin, but to righteousness, righteous acts, righteous speaking, righteous thinking, righteous looking, righteous tasting, righteous touching. See, everything has to be done through decision. You have to choose to work on each of those areas that I just mentioned. What are you willing to do? What am I willing to do? He loves us so much. He makes it so plain in the word how we are to live. Now it's just a matter of us choosing to do that. But will we continue to choose to believe that we are still under the law, meaning the transgressions of God's command? Are we still living the life of a transgressor of God's command? Are we living a life of people who are willing, obedient, and in love with their Creator, that they're willing to do everything that he asks or requires of us? Which is it that you are being a part of now? keep asking yourself these questions. Verse 15, slaves to righteousness. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under law? See, he's getting ready to, clarify the last statement in verse 14. For sin shall not be your master because you are not under law, but under grace. So the question is asked for those folks that want to believe that the law is done away with. The question was asked right afterward. So then if we're not under the law, this is what it's really saying. If we're not under the law, then what are we supposed to be doing? And this is the answer. Shall we sin because we are not under law, but under grace? The answer would be, by no means. So how are you going to sin if there is no law? You can't sin if there is no law. But it says, by no means shall you continue sinning. Meaning, the law is still there. It's still alive. It's still well. It still pertains to you and me. By no means. Don't you know that when you offer yourselves to someone to obey, which is God, him as a slave, as slaves, you are slaves to the one whom you obey, whether you are slaves to sin, which leads to death,